After the U.S. President Barack Obama decided to change his country's space program, Russia will be the only nation able to send people into space next year. RT's Ganesh Shikan found out what the loss meant for Americans.
By the end of this year, NASA will no longer be able to send humans into space. According to Obama's plan, responsibility will go to private companies, which are expected to come up with cheaper ways to ferry astronauts to low Earth orbit.
They know that they have a big step to take if they're thinking about putting humans into space, and that's going to take the next phase of their development. So I have
How
faith.
Many years?
Oh gosh, I couldn't even estimate exactly.
No one can say for sure when the private American companies will come up with a new spaceship. For years to come, it will be the Russian Soyuz that's going to be the only means for people to reach the International Space Station, which is perfectly fine with the leaders of Russia and the U.S., but doesn't sit well with many Americans.
How could this happen, that we could make it to the moon first and build this wonderful equipment, and then and now we're reduced to being passengers on a Russian ship, and that's sort of it. It's a wounded pride thing.
Wounded pride revealed itself in comments by some American lawmakers, astronauts, scientists, and former NASA officials. Comedians in the U.S. did not miss out on poking fun at American sense of pride.
So we pony up the cash, then have to ride on the hump in the back seat while the Ruskies take the wheel? Yes. You know they're not going to let us touch the radio. They won't let us eat snacks or stop to use the bathroom. Should have gone before we left. Use catheter.
But those in NASA who now actually work with the Russians, like astronaut Sunny Williams, have different sentiments.
I couldn't imagine when I was growing up walking through Red Square or going to a Russian company and working hand in hand with my Russian colleagues, or going to their families' homes and having dinner with them, and likewise when they come to the U.S. And so I think maybe we're not competing, but we're working together. I think it's more of a time of joint cooperation and learning from one another that's just as healthy as the competition that we had in the past.
It's not the first time Americans have to rely on the Russians to take their crew to space. They depended on Russian rockets during a 2-year grounding of U.S. spacecraft after the 2003 Space Shuttle Columbia disaster. Columbia exploded during re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. All 7 crew members died. Shuttle's track record includes another tragedy. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight. The Russian Soyuz proved to be the safest way to deliver people to space. And now with the shuttle retiring, it will be the only way.
We're no longer racing against an adversary. We're no longer competing to achieve a singular goal like reaching the moon. In fact, what was once a global competition has long since become a global collaboration.
The leaders of both Russia and the U.S. are saying space is no longer a place for competition. It's now a ground for cooperation. But the question remains, is everyone here in the U.S. ready to fully accept it? I'm Ganesh Chekan, RT, Washington, D.C.